Thursday morning back on Sid and Friends in the morning. You guys all know who follows me here on Talk Radio 77 WABC, 10 a.m. every weekday morning. He is one of the stars. He's really the main star on Fox and Friends every morning on Fox and News. Has his own great show. I love it. It's the only show I'm allowed on Fox News, 9 p.m. on Saturday nights, and that's One Nation. He's my good buddy, Brian Kilmeade. Brian, good Thursday morning, pal. How are you?
Good. I mean, better than Joe Biden. I mean, not only is he iced out and humiliated, which shouldn't be a big deal in politics. Remember, George W. Bush, he was not popular when the economy collapsed in 2008. McCain says, I'm doing it without you. Remember, Bill Clinton came out and said, Al Gore came out and said to Bill Clinton, these scandals are a problem. I'm going to run without you. Grow up. Instead, he sits there and stews and complains and feels bad for himself because he's a terrible president. And he makes a huge mistake 2 weeks ago when he comes out and says Donald Trump should be locked up, which is the suspicion anyway that they were trying to lock him up, and you feel that way. In many ways, I think his Justice Department was doing just that. And then 2 weeks later, he sits in the Oval Office, not invited to the big party in his backyard, and he sits there and says all Donald Trump supporters are trash. We always knew he thought that. He's been coming very close to saying that, but he says it. And now that's all Democrats are trying to put out, the fire he started. Sid, how big a deal do you think this is?
I think it's a very, very big deal. I think, you go back to 2016, Hillary Clinton, irredeemable, deplorables. That hurt her. And this is going to hurt him, too. And it's funny for me because here I am for the last 3 days, Brian, getting savaged. I don't think you have any idea because you're at Fox News, but Rachel Maddow playing my clips from the rally juxtaposed with the actual video of the 1939 Nazi rally. CNN, every one of them killing me because I came out and said bad things about Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry she called me a Nazi, and bad things about the Democrats. So they can go after Sid Rosenberg all they want. I'm just a dopey radio host. But when you've got Hillary Clinton in 2016 taking out Donald Trump supporters, when you've got Joe Biden in 2024 taking out Donald Trump supporters, that's the type of stuff that really helps or hurts a candidate. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think this changes the storyline. And by the way, the MSG thing was an overwhelming success. They just don't want to say that. I saw the New York Times story yesterday. They had a photographer went inside behind the scenes to capture the hate and the racism of the Trump rally, and they got just the opposite. I got to give the photographer reporter credit. And they took pictures and said all these people were happy. We saw them networking. There was no violence. There was no anger. There was no epithets. And that's what you saw when you were on stage and backstage, right? I mean, was it like the Nassau Coliseum, same way?
Oh, it was even bigger and better. It was a kumbaya. Everybody was happy. There was no negativity. You had asked me a couple of days before if I saw any protesters, and the news was reporting about protests outside. I didn't see one protester. It took me, Danielle, and Gabe a good 30 minutes just to get down 3 Avenue blocks to get inside. I didn't see one protester, but I saw about 30,000 fans who were outside. And you could talk all you want about the bad joke about Puerto Rico. It was what it was, or some of the stuff that I said, or Tucker Carlson. But the truth is, no matter what we did and said, the left was going to eviscerate us. There's no way they were going to say, hey, that was great. But the truth is, it was great. It was a happy, tremendous 5-hour rally and sets the stage, I think, for a big Donald Trump win, Brian Kilmeade, coming up next Tuesday.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I thought Trump made the most of it, going in the garbage truck, going to Wisconsin, wearing the vest throughout his speech. It made people stop and ask what's going on here if they missed it. And what I think number one, number two, I think it helps Brett Favre. Here you are in Wisconsin. Brett Favre says, for the first time in my life, I'm getting involved and I'm endorsing Trump, and gives a rousing speech. And people love him more than Aaron Rodgers, almost as much as Bart Starr in his heyday. So Favre gets up there, controversy and all, and endorses. I think it makes a difference. And here's what I think makes a difference. There's a lot of Trump people who go, oh, whatever, I might vote, I might not vote. They're ambivalent. When you call Trump trash, they're ambivalent. When you go after his family, yeah, they're used to it. But when you actually mock them, whether they're fervent supporters, mild supporters, a consistent voter, that's when it gets personal. And I think that could get thousands of people to the polls that were going to maybe sit it out. And when you lose an election with 45,000 votes in a cumulatively in battlegrounds in 2020. Don't tell me this doesn't make a difference.
No, it does. And Howard Stern did the same thing a couple of weeks ago. He said, I don't hate Donald Trump necessarily, but I certainly hate all of his supporters. So we've been labeled garbage and bad people by everybody from Howard Stern to Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden to a load of these guys. You know, it's funny. You mentioned Brett Favre, the all-time great Green Bay Packer quarterback, and he did partake in the Green Bay, Wisconsin rally yesterday, and he did criticize Joe Biden. And I couldn't help but think of a local guy, and that's Eric Adams. So Politico writes a story 2 days ago where they say that, A, I'm a big donor to Donald Trump, me and Jim Dolan. That's why I was at the Garden on Sunday. And they also say that, B, I'm very friendly with Mayor Eric Adams, and maybe I can be that guy to kind of bridge the gap. I had to tell the author yesterday, no, I don't really talk to Adams anymore. I haven't talked to Adams in about 5 months. But the comparison is, you mentioned the controversy with Brett Favre. It's good to have a friend like Donald Trump. Same thing with Mayor Eric Adams. He doesn't like Donald Trump. And by the way, Donald Trump doesn't like Eric. He doesn't think Eric Adams has done a good job at New York City. But they do have that kindred spirit thing going on because of the DOJ. But that's the similarity. Favre in Green Bay, he's got issues. Adams in New York, he's got issues. And everybody's warming up to Trump because at the end of the day, when he wins, he can help them.
Yes, and I would say this. For him to be in front of the microphone and get consistent questions about fascist, racist, MSG, why do they rent it? But he did not say anything in fact, he diminished the question as insulting. And of course, it's freedom of speech. Of course, Donald Trump is not a fascist. And of course, he has a right, I'm just paraphrasing, not saying exactly, to have his rally. I think that's politically smart. And Adams is so much better than de Blasio. At least he went up to Albany and tried to get rid of sanctuary cities. At least he admitted there was a crime problem. I mean, at least I know he likes to party and go out, but at least he shows up. So
before you go any further, while you're giving Eric Adams credit, I couldn't disagree more. I don't care. He went to Albany. They slammed the door in his face. He got nothing done. And, he should be yelling and screaming out names like Heastie and Stuart Cousins. He never does that. Never. So you want to give him credit, that's fine. Are you telling me that when he runs again in 2025, whether he runs against Andrew Cuomo or Scott Stringer or Jumaane Williams or any one of these psychos, you would like to see Mayor Eric Adams continue as mayor of New York City?
I don't want Cuomo. I mean, I'd like to see Curtis get a shot. I mean, if a Republican can do it, I'd love to see it. But I don't want Cuomo. I don't want a redux of de Blasio. I have no idea this guy's Stringer. He says he's going to do certain things. I don't see any track record. So you would know better than me. I mean, you're all over New York City politics. I can't vote here. I just pay taxes here. Great system they have. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, number one, I got to see if there's another raft of indictments. So if there is another raft of indictments, he's going to be disqualified.
Well, it's coming.
If it's this current.
It's coming.
If it does, then
it's coming. Trust me. Right after the election, Eric Adams, his worst day is still coming. It'll be after the election. There'll be another round of these indictments. So if that's what you're waiting on, I can almost promise you this: it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, so that means he's not going to run. So it's a don't even bring it up. I will say this: I just don't know who out there will be able to run a city and forget about politics. It really doesn't matter to Republican or Democrat when you run in these cities, even New York. You forget. I mean, how many times did Bloomberg switch parties? It didn't even matter. At least Bloomberg was competent. I know he was way too green. He was on your big gulps. But you knew a guy was competent.
Yeah.
When can we get that again?
I don't know. It's been since Bloomberg and Giuliani. You're right, since we had somebody competent who can get it done. So on the way out, look, we're only a couple of days away here, Brian. Odds are next time you and I talk, we'll know, at least I hope we'll know, that Donald Trump is the president. Do you have any real concerns that come Tuesday, late Tuesday night, we're still not going to know? We're going to waiting on Michigan or Pennsylvania. You have those concerns?
I do. Yeah, and it's not because of corruption. They have not reformed their system like Florida did. They're not counting the ballots prior to the election. I want them counting them now. What are you waiting for? So this way, when you have voters show up, you just count the voter day. So that's why Florida gets it at 10 p.m. And that's why Arizona has not reformed the situation, either as Michigan. So it might be a few days. My hope is the reason he got it Tuesday in 2016 is because, Trump won all those states. I mean, it was just decisive enough where it was clear he won. So if it is close as they say, we got 3 new polls out. It's all 1 point. At 2, they're tied in Michigan, they're tied in Wisconsin, and the 1 point lead in North Carolina. I mean, that's going to be tight. So if let's say those are the results, of course Harris is going to go, I want to recount Michigan. I want to recount North Carolina. So I think we'll have an idea. My hope is the last thing any of us should be doing is saying they cheated, they lied. Unless we know. If we see it's overwhelming, you got evidence, do it. But just for, everybody, they cheated, they lied. Let's wait on that until to find out if they cheated, they lied. Because I think the Trump team is very confident that they're doing enough to win, and they're very confident that their ground game, I don't know if you're hearing the same thing, their ground game is strong enough to be successful. So they kind of licensed it out to Charlie Kirk and Elon Musk and some other groups, and they did their job. They're getting good responses. I got someone on here coordinating it, so we'll get an idea, and we'll see what happens. Even in the hurricane-stricken areas of North Carolina, the early voting numbers are really strong.
Very strong, and I do talk to Lara Trump almost every day. Her and Watley have done a very good job, like you're talking about. Charlie out there in Arizona, Elon I met on Sunday at the Garden, all of them trying to make sure that the integrity of this election goes down with no real bumps in the road. I'm with you. Stop with the cheating stuff, right? It's getting annoying. Last one, 30 seconds. Saturday night, by the time you hit the airwaves on Fox News, One Nation, it's only going to be 3 days away from the election. I got to imagine you got a big show coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to lead with Pierce Morgan live in studio. I got Crenshaw and Waltz, Dan Crenshaw and Waltz, talk about what's happening in the world, and also Texas, Ted Cruz, what's going on over in Israel, what's going to mean for both, with one wins as opposed to the other. With Waltz, this guy knows the war, he knows domestic politics. We'll talk about whatever's news then. Daniel Pletka is going to go through the media moments with me. Robert Davi, we're getting somebody from the Trump team going to be joining us, and Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania. So those guys are locked in as of now, but we could be rotating some people in and out. I'm
actually campaigning with Trump's buddy Bill White in Philadelphia Saturday night with Dave McCormick, mind you, and 13 others, Ashley St. Clair, and a host of others at last stop in Pennsylvania Saturday night. The Trump team asked me to help out, and I said yes. Anyway, I will stay within myself throughout today and the rest of the week, but I will not stay within myself if Trump loses on Tuesday. So next week could be a very, very interesting conversation, but I remain very, very confident that Donald Trump, as I've been for the last 2 years, as you know, Brian, will regain the White House.
Well, when I'm nervous for John Catsimatidis. Because if Trump is to win, you're going to the White House. You're either going to be Chief of Staff, Secretary of State, or Press Secretary, and he's going to need a new morning show guy. And Frank likes doing the overnights, so it might be John Catsimatidis who's got to run $9 billion companies and do the morning show. So I am nervous for John Catsimatidis.
Hey, listen. That is not a crazy scenario. Just saying.
Right.
Great job, Brian. Have fun today on Fox News, and we'll all be watching One Nation. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. There he is, the great Brian Kilmeade, folks. Does a tremendous job following me every weekday right here on WABC at 10 a.m. Also, once again, Fox News and 9 p.m. Saturday nights, One Nation on Fox News. We'll take a short break. We got a lot of great guests coming up in the next 3 hours. It's the Thursday edition of Sid and Friends in the Morning, just 5 days out from election 2024. I'll be right back.